Welcome back to the Bog Toys and Collectibles. I'm Dave, and today we're going to be checking out the new McFarlane Toys Page Punchers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Bebop and Rocksteady action figures. Now these of course are from Wave 2, being released alongside Raphael and Michelangelo here. And that is after Wave 1, where we saw Donatello, Leonardo, Shredder, and a Foot Soldier. Now the reviews were a little bit mixed for Wave 1 there. Some people are really digging them. Some people not so much, but I do feel like McFarlane Toys is definitely coming back swinging with these heavy hitters right here, and you know, they might be able to redeem themselves. Speaking of heavy, they're definitely a lot of weight to these guys. Each one weighs about a pound or so, and you know, these little hang tags here, if they are hanging on the peg notch, it's going to be holding on for dear life. But of course, they do come in the same style of card back packaging that we saw with Wave 1, now which is different from the usual page punchers that we see from McFarlane. Like here's a Spawn clamshell style page puncher, for example. Now they've kind of got rid of that instead to go with these. Who knows, maybe to keep it in line with, you know, what we've seen from Playmates toys in the past and make it feel a little bit more nostalgic that way. Either way, I do like the packaging like this, even though, you know, they might not have thought ahead to having figures quite this heavy, and it does kind of, you know, you might see a bit of corner damage and stuff like that when you're seeing these out on the shops. But either way, it's looks pretty cool, along with the comic book that's kind of tucked away in the back there that acts as the card art, basically. Aside from that, there is a little bit of a cardboard insert between the figure and the comic book to help make that figure pop a little bit. And then on the bottom there, we've got some kind of barcodes and information. Of course, you got to have that little Nickelodeon logo there for all Ninja Turtles figures nowadays. Then flipping it around to the back here, they do have some illustrations taken directly from the cover art of the comic books inside. Now they've taken away some of the comic book information, made that TMNT logo a little bit smaller there just to help the illustrations really stand out. And of course they do give credit to the artists along the side there too. But definitely cool to see that cover art, you know, large on the back like that. It really looks nice. And then there is a little QR code there too to link to the Ninja Turtles section of the McFarlane website, and some trilingual information there too. But yeah, definitely excited to get these guys out of the package and take a closer look at the actual sculpt and the paint job and everything, see what the articulation's like. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and crack these bad boys open and have a closer look. So I'll start here with Bebop. Just kind of grab a bottom and rip that right open. A little bit of tape there holding it together. Oh. Alright, so there's our comic book for Bebop. Of course, that is a reprint of the Micro series. I believe that was released in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Now this is the Bebop and Rocksteady issue of that. And on the Micro series, they had an issue for basically every character, and this one in particular kind of covers the origin stories of Rocksteady and Bebop here, and you know, how they became the mutants that they are and how they joined the Foot Clan. Yeah, so here's that little cardboard insert there. Let's get right down to the meat and potatoes here. There's Bebop, and looks like they completely covered him with this plastic insert here that's kind of taped on there. Let's see if I can just rip it off without getting the knife out. There we go. So that's interesting. There's no little plastic tab. Oh, I'm already losing hands and everything here. Alright, so we'll get more into the details of the actual accessories and hands later, but let's just get everything out of the package for now. Okay. Looking pretty nice. Yeah, that's definitely a heavy boy right there. Okay. All right, so let's continue on to Rocksteady. All right, Rocksteady. Let's crack him open. All right, so there's Rocksteady's comic here. Bebop and Rocksteady destroy everything. Looking pretty cool there. Little Pigeon Pete down below on the bottom. Now this issue, I believe it was released in 2016. And it chronicles the Ninja Turtles as they do a little bit of time traveling here. And Bebop and Rocksteady are just some bones in a museum. And of course, if you want to see part 2 of this series, you'll have to pick up Raphael here, who does come with number 2 from the Bebop and Rocksteady Destroy Everything, which is a little bit strange how they would put it with Raphael, but either way, that's the comic book that you get with Rocksteady. And here's Rocksteady's little piece of cardboard backdrop, same as what we saw with Bebop. And here he is. So Rocksteady gets a little bit less plastic on him. He actually does have that little plastic, I don't know what to call these things, little holder inners. But yeah, we'll take that off to get him out. And then you do have that plastic cover here, which, you know, definitely saves you a lot of time taking out all of the cutting all those little holder inner pieces of plastics. I don't know what to call them. All right, so here we go. Rocksteady with all of his extra hands. And I know if you look at some of the descriptions of Rocksteady online, it does say that he comes with an extra pair of feet, which is wrong information. He does come with 4 extra hands and no extra feet. So I think they might have just copied the information from a Ninja Turtle or something to get that. But yeah, nice hammer, a bonus head here, and here is Rocksteady in all his glory. All right. All right, so here we go. We got the figures all out of the package, ready to be inspected. And of course, these are coming in at the, technically the 5-inch scale, so about 1/15th scale. But the figures do stand a little closer to 7 inches, which kind of puts them more online with something you see from like Super 7, the Ultimate series. But either way, they're meant to tower over the other turtles, and they certainly will from this line. But yeah, let's get into some of the articulation with the figures, starting with Bebop here. So he does have the neck articulation that will turn full 360 degrees around. He does have a little bit of an up and down, not a ton there, but just enough to get the job done. The pinned shoulder joints can raise up about that high, not quite a full T-pose, but not bad. And then they do fully rotate around. We do have a single pinned elbow joint here. Whoops. Oh, that's pretty tight, but you can get a nice pose with the elbows there. And there is a cut at the torso, so you'll be able to get a slight amount of ab crunch there and a full 360 rotation around. The leg joints here, you can get them about that far apart. If you wanted to get them to kick, not going to be a super high kick, but I wouldn't expect Bebop to kick that high anyway. And hardly any backwards motion there. The knees are crazy tight. I can only get like 2 clicks on that one. Let's try this one. This one I can't even get to move. Oh, there it goes. All right, so that's about how far you can get it there, but you're definitely going to have to fight him a little bit if you want to articulate the knees. And then the feet do get a bit of a swivel there and a rotation, so you'll be able to get them to pose, you know, any way that you like there. Moving on to Rocksteady. Of course, Rocksteady, they got about the same articulation. I counted about 14 points of articulation, so I don't know if I'd say it's ultra articulated, but pretty good amount. He can look down, pretty good amount there, and up just very slightly. We get a slightly higher T-pose there than Bebop, but still not really all the way. The elbows, of course, have the same single pinned articulation, and then the rotate and swivel of the wrist joint is definitely nice there. Ab crunch, hardly going to move at all on this guy. The legs get a slight split. Let's try the knees on here. Yeah, same kind of situation, very tight, but if you really work with it, or maybe heat it up with the hair dryer or something, you'll be able to get a good rotation or a good range of motion. All right, and then same with his kind of rhinoceros feet here. Get a good swivel and rotation on that. But yeah, definitely not going to get this guy into any crazy poses. It's not like a, you know, like a Spider-Man Ultimate Maximum or whatever, but you know, definitely nice to be able to get them to move around and fight the turtles here. So getting into some of the sculpts here, of course, the sculpt is really nicely done. Coming from McFarlane, he's known for some of his hyper-realism and some level of detail. So they've definitely gone all out with these two figures here. The head sculpts, to begin with here, are definitely cool. You know, the glasses don't come off. You can't really move that around. It is a separate molded piece. So, you know, I guess it's not attached on this side, so you can lift that up, and I mean, maybe if you glued it down, you'd be able to do that, but it is designed to be kind of knocked off, maybe like you just got punched in the face or something by Michelangelo, who knows. And then Rocksteady with his signature goggles on the top of his head there, and his kind of military style helmet. But yeah, definitely a nice sculpt. And they do come with these two extra heads here. Pretty similar in design to what the originals, but I guess his mouth is closed on this one. And Bebop has his glasses a little bit more where they're supposed to be. But yeah, I thought it might be cool if instead of getting another Rocksteady Bebop head, we would have got like a human head. Would have been interesting, especially with the comic book showing the origins of the figures. But you know, we really haven't seen much of the original form, the human form of Rocksteady and Bebop, aside from the Playmates Mutations figures that we saw back in the 90s. But either way, let's keep moving on with some of these accessories. So Bebop comes with one chainsaw, which is nice and heavy and, you know, looks really cool. We do have a weapon here. Looks like some sort of maybe AK-47, I don't know, but that's kind of nice there. We do get two brass knuckle hands. More like a silver knuckles, not really sure there, but those are interesting. And then we get a trigger finger and a kind of grabbing hand here. I guess you'd want to use that for the chainsaw. Of course, we also get the comic book too. I guess that counts as an accessory, but we already kind of looked at that. Moving over to Rocksteady, hand-wise, he comes with two grappling type hands right there. He comes with two fist hands for when it's clobbering time. And one big old sledgehammer. Sledgehammer! Why don't you call my name? But seriously, nice selection of accessories there. Maybe it would have been cool to see some accessories like what they had with the original Playmates line, like a sewer lid shield, trash can shield, you know. Maybe they don't have the rights to do that or something, but it might have been interesting to see some of those kind of classic things too, like the shell drill gun there. But there they are next to their ancestors, the original Playmates 1988 action figures. This one's a soft head. I don't think Rocksteady ever had a soft head from the start, but yeah, you can definitely see they've continued on some of those original styling with the red vest, you know, the tank top, the camo jeans, everything. So it's definitely cool that they paid tribute also to that. even though these don't really look much like the IDW comic book illustrations, they're not really inspired by that, I'd say. To me, they kind of look more like something you'd see in like the Michael Bay Out of the Shadows movie, for example, just because of the level of detail. But either way, I'm super stoked with these figures and excited to have them on the shelf. They're pretty affordable. All of the figures in this line are $32.99 Canadian dollars, which, for this level of detail, I think that's pretty reasonable, especially with the amount of plastic that's on these guys. For the weight, I think we're getting a pretty good deal by the price of plastic anyway. And I guess if you're in the United States, though, they're a little bit more expensive. I think last I saw them, they were about $29 USD. With all the tariffs and everything, I guess that's, what they have to charge. But in Canada, we're getting a little bit of a deal here. So, definitely I'll take advantage of that. And we do, of course, have these available currently at thebog.com, along with all the other figures from Wave 1 and Wave 2. So if you're interested in getting the complete collection from this line, or even just a single figure, feel free to check out thebog.com. You'll be able to pick it up there. We do ship everywhere in Canada, United States. We're going to the UK, Australia, Japan, France. We're opening up our international shipping options a little bit more these days. So feel free to check that out. Again, thebog.com. But yeah, I think that's all that we've got for this particular review of the McFarlane Toys Page Punchers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Bebop and Rocksteady action figures. So until next time, I'm going to make like a tree and get out of here. All right, see you guys later.
This with the back of the knife, so don't try to stop me. Just run me your life, get set and get ready.